Hey goodies, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hey good gang, it's Iris from Court Iris, and I'm back with another video. And today I'm going to be discussing P-Valley. Now I know this is weird. I typically talk about relationships and things like that, but I have got to have some commentary on it because the episodes have been magnificent. Now, last season when I first started watching P-Valley, it was a fun show, something to watch. It was okay. It was interesting. However, in this last season, the storytelling that is happening, and I'm going to pick up at the Keyshawn episode. So we often talk about colorism. We all have seen it play out in real life. However, the way they just showed it in this episode was very interesting because we all know that Keyshawn is absolutely drop dead gorgeous. So how does a woman who is drop dead gorgeous not see herself the way that other people might see her? However, in our culture, a lot of times women can be devalued simply based on skin tone. And it's interesting because people with different complexions sometimes don't experience it the same way. For instance, I kind of sit in the middle in my complexion, even though I have this gorgeous tan this summer, but typically I'm a little lighter, but not light skin. So I knew I was kind of in the middle, and it was just my skin color. I didn't really experience it. I knew that girls that were lighter than me were considered prettier, or if they had certain texture of hair and things like that. Oh, don't let them be what the guys considered exotic, maybe Puerto Rican or biracial. Those girls were of higher importance or higher pretty, or considered more beautiful by a lot of guys, which was always weird because I just will always say it. I cannot understand finding something more desirable than what you can produce um, from your DNA, because that's a form of self-hatred, but that's just my opinion. But when I really started to hone in and realize that there was an issue with colorism is when I gave birth to my daughter. Now, my ex is gorgeous and he is brown skin. And when I had my daughter, she was even a little darker than him and was the most beautiful, gorgeous baby in my opinion. And people would always say stuff like, oh, she's so pretty to be so dark, or call her chocolate this or chocolate that. And it was very interesting because I was just like, to me, she's my daughter, but to everyone else, she's a complexion. Interestingly enough, as she grew, she started having issues with her skin color, with her hair, and it took a lot for me to reinforce in her the fact that you are beautiful just the way you are. If you put braids in your hair, if you put weave in your hair, if you wear your natural hair, whatever state you're in, as long as you're confident, you're beautiful. And I would like to say I've done a great job at reinforcing her self-esteem and for her seeing herself as the absolute drop-dead beauty that she is. Now, watching Keyshawn's story, though, there were indicators of the lighter siblings, well, half siblings, and the stepmothers, colorism, her attitudes toward the hair and light-waisted and things that I've heard throughout the years that are very detrimental to when you are speaking to young girls, especially young black girls. The impact of what we hear and what we see and what society shows us deeply impacts how we see ourselves. So you have to be really careful with the language you use, especially with little girls. If you call them fat or thick or light or dark, these markers become a part of them that can affect them in sometimes positive but often negative ways. It's not uncommon for girls who are very thin to want to gain weight, for girls who are very heavy to want to lose weight, for girls who are in the middle to know nobody's happy, because the beauty standard makes it that way, that you're not supposed to be happy. You're not supposed to like the way you look. That's why women are investing all this money on body contouring, body shaping, why pictures and videos are filtered so people don't have pores or lines. Aging is things, so no one's happy. Everyone is chasing this aesthetic that changes. So if we looked at, for instance, the Kardashians, At one point, Kim Kardashian, Khloe Kardashian, all of them did these body alterations to give them what was considered a more black girl aesthetic, with the wider hips, a bigger butt, a beauty that would appeal to black men. Now they're realizing that they don't want that attention. They don't want to be in that black community or that black aesthetic. And if you look at Kim Kardashian now, she has slimmed down greatly. She is much thinner. Same thing with Khloe. They are becoming white women again, and they are dropping that black aesthetic. This will be interesting with them raising clearly black daughters. For the most part, their daughters are browner skinned, so it will be interesting to see how they reconcile race when it comes to biracial children. However, when we sit here and we look at this and what is typically black girl beauty being put on as a outfit or as a trend, and now that it's out, what do you do? You know, what do you do if you don't have multiple surgeries now to reduce that huge butt? What do you do? You know, and we really don't examine or have real conversations about beauty and the beauty ideal. We just all chase it. I'm guilty. We all chase what is considered the ideal beauty standard. However, the ideal beauty standard is deeply rooted in Eurocentric beauty. And as a black woman, we are the furthest from that beauty standard. And as a dark-skinned black woman, you are the furthest. So that's how Keyshawn could fall in love with the white man who looks at her and tells her, "You're beautiful." Because it would seem as though he would be the last person to find her beautiful, yet he is. And the minute he got mad at her, the minute she was having that baby, it was immediately weaponized against her blackness. So even though he told her she was beautiful, he took that same ideology, that same reinforcement that he gave her, and immediately made her know that I am saving you and your black skin and your black womanness and who you are. You are no good. You are elevated because I chose to love you. And this is how people get trapped in cycles of abuse and unhappiness. And there was a point where she was touching her daughter's hair, and you can just see her desire to produce lighter children and what it has cost her. So I think the episode was absolutely beautiful. I thought it was very telling, and I want to move on to the next episode with Big Teak. Oh, in the flashback, a lot of people got really upset about seeing two masculine black men display love, romantic love for each other. There wasn't as much pushback last season when there was a more effeminate gay character or non-binary character being in love with a heterosexual male. While people, kind of were uncomfortable with it, it was nothing like seeing two masculine men be in love with each other, and there was a backlash. And this was kind of weird to me. And it was weird to me because in the same episode, there were women being intimate with each other and no one blinked at it. But that connection was transactional. It wasn't rooted in anything but just lust, whereas these two men had a connection that was real. They had a connection that was based on history, and they had love for each other. Yet people were so appalled and turned out. It's interesting how we can be so just unrealistic about what really experiences are. And I commend the show for showing the realities of love, the realities of different types of love. I'm a heterosexual woman who lives in the heteronormative eye of the world. I see things my way and the way I've grown and experienced most of my life, especially at my age. However, I'm an artist, and I know that there are men who love each other. And I know men who love each other come in different sizes and shapes. And I know there are women who love each other. So the idea that it was so appalling and people were so upset by that scene was really interesting to me, because it's maybe that needs to be, and I hate the term normalized, but it's a reality. And I don't know why people had such a hard time accepting it. Lastly, the Big Teak reveal. Now, if you haven't watched it, like I said, please watch it. But the way they handled him choosing to end it. People are living through trauma. People, I was saying in my last video how people do not take the time to understand where people are. And I know from when I went into my depression, I could function very well in the world, but when I came home, it was dark and it was lonely, and people missed it because there were so many clues. And I thought it was interesting how the episode did that, because by them giving us clues, it shows us how sometimes if we just pay attention, we can notice that someone's broken. So we see in the chair at the barbershop when he says he is casket sharp, that was a foreshadowing of what was to come. We see him move to tears at the kindness. We see him sitting there with Little Murda, and he is experiencing a date. And they talk about their initial connection and how that happened. And there's a true connection, but he also understands that everything has moved on, and even the person he loves is with Uncle Clifford now, or has love for Uncle Clifford. These ideas of how people are experiencing their life was so prevalent in his hurt, in his trauma, and in how he was expressing this great anger and this pain that was caused by a trauma that happened many years ago. We don't know everyone's story, and we don't give people the compassion that they deserve. I find that people are so interested in being better than other people, being having more status than other people, that we really don't have compassion for other people. The King of Hearts shirt, I knew what was going to happen. And I'm, of course, a theater person, so I pay attention to it. But when I saw that King of Hearts shirt, and if you ever pay attention to a deck of cards, the King of Hearts actually has the sword up to his head. And so when I saw that, we saw that come back later on in the scene, but later on in the story at the end. But the idea that he knew how that day was going to end. And we never know how someone is feeling or how much brokenness a person can take. And when you've experienced that, I have, losing people that way, you think back and you say, well, how could it be that bad? It can be that bad. So if you're feeling that way, seek the help. Go out there. I get it. You know, I understand depression and I understand hurt. So let's not neglect each other. And I commend P Valley for making people visible who people try to make invisible, for telling their stories with humanity and truth, for allowing us to have a window into a world that some of us have never experienced, but showing people in it with dimension and reality, and really trying to tell stories that are compelling, shocking, but get to the truth and show compassion for your characters. So if you haven't been watching, catch up. Sorry, because you got spoiled now, but you still should go back and watch it. And if you watched it, watch it again. Look at the nuances. Look at the way Keyshawn doesn't want to wear the blonde wig, but wears it anyway. Look at the way little Teak is looking at little Murda at the dinner table, and how the light shines on his face in that moment. Just beautiful, beautiful storytelling. Anyway, that's all I got. It's Iris from According to Iris, living my life according to me, so that you can live your life according to you, giving you my perspectives and ideas. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.